Adventures with Superman, Episode 8, The Death of Clark Kent. Like, we all know that's not gonna happen. And it's your boy Icon with a DC animated TV review for you, and I am a little exhausted. Like, I spent the day at Hershey Park, and, all the screaming and with the rides and everything. Like, as you get older, like the like the nerves tend to get a little bit more frantic. But today I'm pushing through it, so excuse the deepness of my voice, the raspiness, and let's talk about a little Superman, My Adventures of Superman. So in this particular episode, Clark is still captured, but he's captured by Brainiac this time. Right out the gate, this was the first thing that made me raise an eyebrow, because he put the Black Mercy onto Clark's head. And it wasn't a plant. It was actually like a mechanical device, and he was using it to not so much recreate false memories, because the Black Mercy is supposed to grant the person that it's holding, it's supposed to grant them like their greatest desire. This is the technical version of the Black Mercy, and it's altered to the point where Brainiac was able to see inside Clark's head, and he was able to basically like maneuver through his memories. Now, he was trying to figure out what makes Clark tick and what his weakness was. So he was going through some old fights of his, and he was just like, oh, like he said, you defeated this person. He's like, I can't do that. He's like, you defeated this person. He's like, your strength is unimaginable. But then he was just like, but if your strength is so good, how are you defeated? Like, what's your weakness? And then he taps into more of his memories. Then he discovers like Jimmy and Lois. So then he's just like, these people. He's like, you fight for these people. Like, this is your weakness. Like, this is what can be used against you. And then he gets to the point where he starts altering Clark's memories. So because Clark was there, because they said they're in his mind. So Clark is talking to Brainiac, and he's just like, I'll never work for you. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to take Kara with me. He's like, you won't win, Brainiac. But he was just like, oh, but the people that you're fighting for, they don't even want you, Clark. And then he shows him different memories where Jimmy's just like, oh, aliens belong in outer space and Earthlings belong on Earth. And Kara was just like, oh, I never liked the fact that you weren't human and everything. And then like a little glitch happened when she said that. And then that's when Clark was like, wait a minute. He's like, you're altering my memories. He said, this isn't true. Now, the Black Mercy, all of a sudden, not only does it have the power for Brainiac to get into his mind, but he can also alter memories and everything. I'm just like, no, that's not the Black Mercy. That's not the Black Mercy. So he's changing his memories. Clark is fighting him, and then after a while, Clark was just like, no, because there was like one specific memory. He was like, no, that shit didn't happen. He was like, this 100%. He's like, you're manipulating me. You're manipulating my memories. He's like, I'm not going to fall for it. It's not going to work, Brainiac. He's like, get me the hell out of here before I kick your ass. And then he shows him the memory when Lois basically broke up with him. And then he was like, is this memory not real? He said that you claim I'm fabricating memories, but this woman clearly has rejected you, Kal-El. And then he was just like, yes, that memory happened. But then he was like, no, he's like, I'm not going to do it. So then he's fighting Brainiac. And then he gets to a point where he realized he was in his own mind and that Brainiac couldn't control him in his own mind. So there was a point where Brainiac was trying to like go to a different memory, and then Clark stopped him, and he was just like, no. He said, we're not going to do that. And then Clark controlled it, and then he said that I'm going to take you to a memory. He took him to happy memories and things of that nature, and then he started fighting Brainiac within his mind. Now, meanwhile, back in the real world, Kara links up with Lois and she links up with Jimmy. Kara and Jimmy have their little romantic interaction where the two of them say everything except what they actually need to say to each other. Lois is pissed because she's like, oh, you're the one that kidnapped Clark. And then she's like, but you're the one who rejected him. And then she's like, yes, but I'm trying to get him back. So the three of them, they go down to the ship. They bust into the ship. And then while Jimmy and Lois are in the ship trying to make their way to where Clark is, Supergirl shows up. Well, I'm not going to call her. Oh, sorry. Apology. She ain't Supergirl yet. Kara shows up, and then she starts fighting Brainiac. And then, her and Brainiac get into it, and then he's just like, oh, he said, I'm replacing you with Kal-El because he's much stronger and he's better. And then that's when Kara was just like, damn, she said this whole time you were a liar. She's like, you manipulated me. You altered my memories, like you changed my memories, like you brainwashed me. And she said, I'm not going to let you do this to Clark. So now she's fighting Brainiac. At the same time, Clark is fighting him in his mind. And then Supergirl, she ends up defeating him. And then after Supergirl defeated Brainiac, she thought Clark was going to wake up, because at the exact moment where she defeated Brainiac in the real world, Clark defeated Brainiac in his mind. But then Clark still wouldn't wake up. So what happened was Clark ended up being transported, because he thought he got out, but he ended up going back to Kansas to see his parents. And then when he got back to Kansas, he wasn't in Kansas anymore. He was actually on Krypton. And his Kryptonian parents, along with Kara and her father Zor-El, they were all there, and then like Clark as a little boy was there, and then they all embraced each other. So I'm like, so now the Black Mercy is actually giving him the memory that like that he wants. So Clark embraced that family, and now he's in his happy place, being back on Krypton with his family. But what that means is Brainiac basically got into the Black Mercy because it's mechanical. He got into the Black Mercy, and now while Clark is off into like the greatest memory dream of all time, Brainiac is controlling his body and all his actions through the Black Mercy. And then Kara, she's just like, no, she's like, I won't let you have him. And then now Kara's fighting Clark, being controlled by Brainiac, and like she getting her ass beat. So now, now it's like the reverse. Lois and Jimmy show up, and then when Lois and Jimmy show up, Lois actually saw the Black Mercy on Clark's head. She saw another one of them like lying on the table, and I guess she went to go take it. Jimmy, he bust out the kryptonite to try to stop Clark, and the kryptonite didn't work because, and I mean, I didn't understand that either, because I get it. When he bust out the kryptonite, Brainiac was just like, oh, because like it affected Kara, like Kara was dying, but then he was just like, oh, all you're gonna do, he said, having that kryptonite out, you're gonna kill Kara and you're gonna kill Clark, and I'll just take my memories and just put them into another body or into another computer. And I understand that, and that makes perfect sense, but you're still in control of Clark's body. So the fact that Jimmy has the kryptonite out, you should still be weakened because you're the one in control of his body, and his body shouldn't be able to do the things that it's doing now because it's being attacked by kryptonite. So I was just like, yeah, lost me. Like, yeah, lost me on that one. Like, he ain't that super. So then after that, then he was just like, I'm sick of this annoyance. And then he opened like a window or whatever, and Kara, Lois, and Jimmy got sucked up into outer space. And now I guess like Clark being controlled by Brainiac, like I guess he's gonna take over the planet, like he's gonna go to planet Earth and try to like wreak havoc. Supergirl grabbed up Jimmy and Lois in outer space. Malik and the Brain, they showed up, put them back on the ship, and then they were just like, oh, we failed the mission, we couldn't rescue Clark. And then it's like, what do we do now? And then Lois takes the Black Mercy that she stole, she puts it onto her forehead, and then she goes, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna pull Clark out. And I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, that's not how the Black Mercy works. Like, you like the Black Mercy, it's supposed to be an organic creature that grants you your greatest desire. It's not a network where anybody that has a Black Mercy attached to their body gets to basically all jump into the same person's memory. I like that was some bull. Like, it's like that. I don't have a problem with that, but don't call it the Black Mercy. Call it something else. Just be like, hey, I have this communicational brain device that's linked to to the same server where everybody can jump in and be in there at the same time, kind of like virtual reality. Don't call that shit the Black Mercy, because it's like now we're doing a disservice to the actual Black Mercy. So now she's gonna put the device on her head and she's gonna go into Clark's memories, and now she's gonna try to pull him out. And then, I saw in the next week's episode, when she goes in there, she doesn't remember who she is. What's gonna happen, in my opinion, when Clark gets to Earth and he starts to wreak havoc on Earth, that's when Amanda Waller's going to be like, see, I told you he was an alien threat and he was a menace and blah, 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 we got to kill him. And then Supergirl's going to be the one to try to save the people and rescue the people. But then they're going to be like, oh, but if you're going to try to be Clark and be a hero and try to save people, you can't go out there and do that wearing what you're wearing, because that was the clothes of the person, who tried to take over the world. So then that's when Jimmy's probably going to spend what little change he has left making her a Supergirl costume. So, but that was it. That was how the episode ended, and thank you for tuning in. So it was a good episode. It was quick. Like, it was definitely very quick. I mean, honestly, the Black Mercy thing really bothered me. But other than that, I mean, because it was unnecessary. Like, it could have just been a regular device. It didn't have to be the Black Mercy. But I like where they're going. This is episode 8, so we get 2 more episodes to go, which means they're going to pull Clark out of his mind prison in episode 9, and then Superman and Supergirl together are going to help take down Brainiac, and then they're going to fight Amanda Waller in episode 10. As I said, share your questions, comments, and or concerns down below, and we'll continue to talk about it. Check me out on X and on Twitter, always on YouTube and the TikTok, where you can leave your questions, comments, and or concerns. Got a lot of great stuff coming up. Check out my Suicide Squad Isekai reviews that are up on my channel. We got the wrestling, got Money in the Bank and NXT Heatwave when that goes live. And I said, we're waiting for some more conventions at the end of the month so I can bring you guys some more of this goodness. So that was it, guys. So thanks for tuning in. Up and away as always. Till next week. Don't get caught by Brainiac and take over the world, because we're out this